Well, welcome to Techman Talks Dynamics. I'm joined today by Kelly and John, who are part of our CRM Power Platform team. And it's that time of year when Microsoft have announced the latest releases of what's happening across all the Dynamics 365 products. I know we've covered Business Central in an earlier podcast, but we're turning our attention today to what I'll call the CRM apps that Microsoft have out there. Sales, still called customer service?
Just about,
and we'll look at those and what Microsoft have done. So, as always, they publish a long document. What we're going to try and do is, you guys have picked a few of your highlights. So we're not covering everything, but what we've tried to do is look at what we think our customers would probably find beneficial, rather than looking at just all the new whizzy features they've added in, and go through a few of those, probably around about top 10 or not. I haven't counted how many, but there's a few on the list that you've highlighted, and we'll go through it. So I'll throw it over to you first of all, John. The look and feel, the experience, has anything changed much around that?
At the moment, no, but users might have spotted in the top bar, you've got a slider bar for new look, which some people have had a go with, some people have not. It's one of these that they are now going to force it to turn on. You can turn it off if you want. And it was just really it's just really tidying up the look a bit. So you're getting rounded corners, you're getting brighter colours. It's nothing particularly exciting, it's just making it a little bit more modern. The one feature that I found when I tried with it, which I really like, is on a subgrid, you often have the pages at the bottom. So you have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4. You tend to find now it's a big scroll bar. So you've got lots and lots of options in there, much more, many more records. So previously, if you've got a small subgrid that's got one of 4 records that you can see, but you've got 20, you're scrolling through page after page just to get that. Now they're all in there.
Okay.
And you also find a lot of the views that you get, whereas you can take them up to 250 as the maximum records. Now all of a sudden you can have thousands in there that you start to scroll down.
Okay.
So it's made it a little bit easier in terms of searching. If you go to an update, if you've got to find records. Yeah,
but it's mainly visual changes.
It's all visual. Really... Yeah, there's nothing in the background that changes in terms of functionality. It just looks better, just looks a bit cleaner. But it's also one of those that, as I said, they are going to switch it on automatically. But if you don't like it, you can also turn it back off again.
Okay.
So
For now.
Well, I think
we've seen this with other products, haven't there? I mean, we're using like Outlook and Teams. I've had the new scroll across. Takes a little bit of a take a deep breath, get used to the things that have moved a little bit, but it's probably, you got to take the jump sooner rather than later before you're forced. It's probably good to have a play with it at least, make sure everything works, and then roll it back if you're not overly happy for at least a while to then improve.
And just to say as well, when you do turn it on, it is per user. So if someone goes into the system, turns it on, you're not turning it on for everybody in your organisation, it's just your user account. So everybody else has their choice. And
is it a big jump? Do you feel that it's different, or it's just like you've mentioned a few features there that are obviously an improvement by the sound of it, get more on the screen?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think, wow, I can't find, or is it's not that revolutionary?
No.
It's more of an evolution of the product.
Yeah, nothing's really changed where it is. It just looks a little cleaner. It's just changing that sort of, this just overall view. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. The next one we've got down there on Kelly is around enhanced attached emails. I'm not too sure what that means, so I'm going to throw that one to you.
So I don't know if you've ever tried to send an email in CRM and add an attachment to it. It's not a very user-friendly experience, let's say.
Okay.
So basically the way it works at the moment is you create the email record, you save it, and then you've got a little subgrid where you add all of your attachments in as separate files. So basically what they're doing is they're making the way that you add attachments to emails within CRM better.
Yep.
So it's going to be more like an Outlook experience for users. So you can drag and drop, you can attach files quite simply. Just generally a lot better from the user point of view. It's not a revolutionary change. It's something that probably should have happened a while ago, but it's just going to make that email experience a little bit more native within CRM, just to take away that need for your users to feel like they need to go and send emails from Outlook still, and just enhance that experience for them.
So it's one of Microsoft's top goals, I always say, to stop people jumping from app to app to app. So again, improving what was sounded a little bit clunky. So it doesn't. He said, gave the excuse to jump back into Outlook, and then you potentially waste a bit of time and effort while you're doing that. I didn't realise it was that bad. I've got to be honest. I don't spend a huge amount of time creating emails in there, but it's not a fun experience, I'm assuming, previously.
No. So obviously, you want people to send emails from within CRM because you're managing cases in there, you're managing opportunities, leads, all of these different records in there, and you want people to be working on these records natively in CRM. The whole point of integrating all of this stuff into CRM is so that people can work natively within it. But the way that you wanted to send attachments to people, it wasn't very user friendly. People were just flicking back to Outlook because it was just easier.
More familiar. Okay, so two changes to start with. They're small, which we're seeing a lot of evolutionary changes, things just improving gradually. That's the idea of a SaaS product, right? So you don't need a huge amount of retraining on lots of stuff, but there's small improvements all along. So okay, that's obviously a nice positive. So we go into leads and opportunities. So you've commented on this one around like that they're now being auto assigned leads into based on profiles and things like that.
Yeah. So we've previously, as consultants for CRM, we've done things around assigning leads for people where we've done it based on territory, or we've categorized leads, and we've had to put some quite complicated automations in the background, as customizations to CRM to do that auto assigning of leads. So what the system is now going to do is it's going to allow you to create capacity profiles based on certain attributes that you can assign to leads. So be that a product, a territory, a type, various different attributes that you can assign, so that you can give kind of a priority to leads, so that for leads where they're particularly hot leads, and they're assigned those attributes of being particularly hot, you can make sure that they get priority of being assigned to sellers so that they can be followed up first. But then also what it's going to do is you're going to be able to assign capacity to the sales team. So each different lead attribute will take up different capacities. And then your sellers can have a certain capacity of leads. So if you've got high profile leads and you want people to spend a lot of time concentrating on it, you can assign high capacity so that they can only have, 2 or 3 of those leads. Whereas if they've only got low priority leads, they can have, sort of 5 or 6.
Higher volume. Yeah. Okay. So, from that, is it a lot of work to set that up? When you talked about how you assign those leads with all the different attributes they've got, I'm guessing that's where the legwork comes in when you're setting this up to make sure that the system then can understand how it's going to classify a lead.
Yeah. So the configuration of this is being taken from the back end automation and brought to the fore, so that it can be managed by organisations themselves, as opposed to having to be customisation that's built into the background and in automations, so that it's configurable by system admins and by super users of the system themselves, just using conditional attributes, the same familiar screens that they'd be using with advanced finds and all of those kind of native CRM tools.
I think a lot of things we're seeing across all the Dynamics 365 products at the moment with this automation and with AI, if your data's not good, it's not going to do a great job, right? I know everyone goes, it's rubbish, it's not what it's meant to be, it's not what it says on the box. But you get your data right and you get that, I know we've stressed it for years and years, but if you get that right, you're going to have a better experience and a better outcome with these new features than if you just assume it's going to do everything for you. Okay, so that's the idea of automatically allocating leads to people based on a whole bunch of different attributes. While we're talking about leads, qualification and has that changed at all?
Yeah, there's been some slow changes over the last couple of releases, but there's now a screen that lets you have a few settings. Some of them have been there in a limited capacity, but they've added onto it a bit more this time. So previously, when you qualify a lead, you get the box to say whether you want to create an account, a contact, or an opportunity. It now has the ability that you can say, I always want to create an account. And an administrator can do that, or a contact or an opportunity, or you can say, actually, I'm going to leave it to the seller to decide.
Right. Never good. I work in the sales team. Never trust the seller to do anything they're meant to.
So that was one of the features. The other one is that another one is that you can add in various fields that map through from a lead to an opportunity. Now, this is something that we've always been able to do as customizers. It's now sort of come down a level so that more sort of a system administrator can do it. So it'll automatically create those fields and bring them through if you want to. The other thing that we've got is the ability to create multiple opportunities from a lead. And again, whilst I haven't looked at it, I think this is something we've been able to do, but it's been clunky. But now we've got the feature. We haven't got any details about how it's going to be used, but it's a bit more open to do that now.
So we still define, I guess, a lead, at least in TechMan, from our sales team. A lead is almost like an embryo opportunity. We're not too sure what's going to become of it. But you're right, we could have multiple opportunities. If we're talking to a business, it could be an ERP lead, it could be a CRM lead, it could be both, and there could be a whole bunch of IP products that we would attach and services. Yeah. So you could have multiple opportunities that you want to, because there's nothing worse than starting with something with not being a CRM expert, but when we use the product, we've set it up as an ERP and CRM. And then how do you amend that lead going down once it becomes the opportunity and you've put both? Well, actually, maybe the ERP element drops out. It's just a CRM. You've got to recategorize it, and it's a pain because then all your data is wrong in terms of pipeline and what may or may not come in. So I'm guessing that's going to help.
It is, yeah, because if you look back going through all those records, it may be the lead has actually come from a campaign, and it might be useful to see the opportunities come from a lead, the lead from a campaign, to see where everything comes from. And if you're taking out that extra record for the lead, you can see that it's come from a discussion that might have gone on at that campaign, rather than just another one that's been created because there's a second conversation that may need to go through. So yeah, that might be useful. In terms
I like the ability as well. You said to automatically create like accounts from that. I think that would be useful, because sometimes otherwise you get multiple accounts. It's slightly different for really what is the same account, but because their leads come from different opportunities, people just create company A and they call it something slightly different again, and you get a bit of a mess. And we've had that anyway in the past.
And the other thing to add on that is there's now an option. Again, we don't know how it's going to be used yet. We've just got the preview, but a co-pilot summary of the lead. Now, I find that these co-pilot summaries can be quite useful. Yeah. So, for example, if you've been away on holiday, I go into Teams, there's like a team chat, you click on the top, summarise from the last 7 days, so you can see in a few sentences everything you've missed. So maybe that's the sort of thing we're looking at, that it's going to give you a summary of what's happened, so that if a salesperson, maybe someone different doing the leads, I mean at TechMan we have people doing leads differently to the opportunities. It may be that you have that summary that means you've got a lot more information that somebody can just quickly absorb rather than having to read through the whole record.
I think we found, and we've been using Copilot for a few weeks now. I'll plug the other podcast. We've got a Copilot podcast that's already up online, so if you've not checked that one out, listen to that. But we found the biggest thing, I think, which works really well, is the summary, whether it's email summary, meeting summaries. That has really been, wow, okay, I didn't expect it probably to be that good. And I keep learning new prompts, which are, what questions should we ask after this meeting based on that data? And there's some half decent stuff that's come out of that. So I'd be interested in that, because it's getting data. There's so much stuff in CRM, even with our own system, to try and uplift the bit you're really interested or you need to know about now, or as you said, after coming back of a holiday, or you've been out for a couple of days, then it's good. Or sales opportunities can be moved around, can't they? So if you reallocate it, it'd be good to have a summary of what's gone on historically. Okay, so I think that's it from a sales side at the moment. So we'll jump on to customer service, and I think the next one we're going to have a look at is the idea of the admin. Oh, no, I've missed one there. Sorry, the cases. So we're looking at cases and multi-queue.
Yeah, we have a few customers that use automatic record creation, which essentially means that you have an email address that's connected to a queue, and the queue has got rules that create records. So as an email gets sent to a particular email address, the end result is you get a case created on your system based on that email.
And you're saying that would be like just so I understand that, almost like a distribution list email, where it would be like, rather than a John at TechMan, it would be hello at TechMan, or cases.
Yes,
so it's more of a pot of where anything could come into.
It could be an individual's email address, but I don't really see the need for it. But yes, it would be, as you say, a sales at or a customer service
in this one.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Exactly. So what we've had before is we've had one of our customers who recently, if you start getting different email addresses in the CCs and the BCCs, it can cause all sorts of issues. We eventually found the reason why, and it's a strange one.
Okay.
But it looks like this new feature that's sort of hardening up the process that's there, and it always had to go to one queue. So it would pick a queue, and if you had more than one, it was sometimes a bit of a lottery as to which queue it ended up in. But what we've now got is the feature that if more than one queued email is included in the email address, then it will add that case into more than one queue.
Okay.
So it will actually create multiple cases. So it could be that you've got an email that's going to sales and an email that's going to customer services. If those are both email addresses that have got queues behind it, it'll create a case in both of them. Okay. So that different people may be picking those up, and so they can be handled differently. If
that did happen, what happens if they both picked it up? I mean, there might be different elements to it. So one might be a commercial question, one might be a technical question. So that would make sense. If it was one question, I'm assuming then you're just relying on the call, whoever it ends up at, to determine this isn't me, or...
Yeah, yes.
Right, okay.
As I say, I'd like to see it. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting how it actually works in practice, whether those cases are linked as related cases. I mean, it may, for example, we have a customer who every single case that gets created, every single email that goes into a particular queue, a case gets created. Now, maybe that's just an email, maybe absolute junk, in which case the user will look in, close it, because it's an irrelevant case. You're relying on...
Good for your closing call times.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's very good at that. Yeah. But it may be that if you've got something that's got those double, possibly two issues on there that's
Yeah.
come into two different cases. Maybe someone's just replied and it's come back to something. I suppose you need to make sure that the other one that's there, they are actually picking that up rather than you're just blindly closing that case, assuming that somebody else has got
No,
it.
I think you're right. The more I think about it, the more it does make sense. If they've cut that multiple people into the reply on the email, then it makes sense that at least everyone's aware of it, rather than just assuming someone else is dealing with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So from an admin perspective, has there been many changes from like the administration side?
Yeah, so we've had, over the last few years, we've had a lot of features going to CRM on the customer service side. We've had the introduction of Omnichannel, the live chat, Power Virtual Agents, lots and lots of features just released into customer service itself around automatic record creation, queues, things like that. So we had, some of the settings were in the customer service hub. We had an Omnichannel admin center app to do all the omnichannel settings, and we had various other places where different settings were set up and configured. So what they're doing now and what they've introduced is they've introduced a customer service admin center. So this isn't new for this wave, they actually brought it out last wave, but what they're doing now is they're deprecating all of the old admin centres. So, people need to start moving towards the new admin centre to do all of the configuration of the front end and the back end, things like creating their queues and creating their unified routing rules, and basically just making sure that anything that they're doing in terms of customer service admin, they're doing in the customer service admin app and getting used to it before all of the other places go away.
Okay, so it's a mature. I think you're just seeing the product mature,
Yeah.
aren't you? And
Yeah.
obviously Microsoft have a history, no doubt, of acquiring technology, and then they've got their own admin center. But it's good to see them rounding that off. I've seen it with other products. I think it normally means the product's heading in the right direction, and must be far easier to have one admin center rather than multiple.
Yeah.
Okay. So from that side, that's good. That's tidying up and cleaning everything up around that. You've got on there regarding extracting customer information into Office apps. So that's interesting.
This comes back to the Copilot thing. So there's a Sales Copilot app. We've had it for Outlook for a while, but it's been introduced into things like PowerPoint, Word, Excel, so that you can pull in, that Sales Copilot data from CRM and use that data to make Word documents, pull in information into Word, pull in information into Excel, and potentially even pull in information into PowerPoint and make presentations about that customer using their CRM data.
So if we had like a template within Word for typical proposal, standard proposal, we can now start to have the ability with Copilot to almost say, go and generate a proposal for this product based on records that here's a criteria.
Using the opportunities and the account and all of that different information that you've got about that customer stored in CRM.
Wow. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. And you said it goes into Teams as well and all that type of stuff. Or is it?
So they're spreading Copilot everywhere.
Yeah,
is
the
the reality of it. But specifically, they've specifically listed a feature to introduce it into things like Word and Excel. And
so you might know the answer to this. It's probably unfair because I'm just going to throw this out of nowhere without talking about it before. I know what we found with Copilot on the Office side. Obviously, there's a few free bits of Copilot, but it does the bare minimum. Obviously, for Copilot, when it goes into Word, Excel, Teams, Outlook, there's an additional cost. Yeah. Is there an additional cost for this one? Do you know, or is it part of the CRM upgrade? Or I've seen there's like Copilot for Sales, which seems to be an additional cost.
So it's a bit of a dodgy one.
Okay.
is the answer. It's not a straightforward answer. So the access to the CRM data and Copilot is technically included in your Sales Enterprise license.
Okay.
But to enable it in Word, you'd probably need the Copilot
for Sales or whatever.
The additional Copilot license that you'd need to use it in Word if you weren't using it in the CRM context, if you were just using it to generate Word content anyway. Okay. So it's probably a little bit of both. Is the answer to that one.
Okay. I'd seen there was an additional cost of, I don't know, about, £25-30 per month per user for Copilot for sales. And I wasn't too sure what they gave you because there were some Copilot stuff included in CRM as well.
Yeah.
So it's this way Microsoft make
If
billions
you
of dollars
want
every
to,
month.
yeah. So the stuff that's included as part of CRM is, I think the Outlook stuff is included as part of the Sales Enterprise license. I think a certain amount of the Teams integration with it is included on the CRM side. But then I think if you move it into Teams, you need the additional license there. And I'm fairly sure for the Word and Excel extensions, you're going to need the additional Sales Copilot.
Fine. So just be aware of that, people
Yeah.
looking. But it's neat to see that. Again, it's Microsoft's vision that this data flows across all your apps, and you can start to use the apps that people use without having to go into CRM, but it will still be able to generate your proposals and clever things like that. Okay, so we're seeing the continual use of Copilot across all Microsoft's products, and it's good to see it coming into CRM as well. So the next one, John, I think we got was around sensitive data in omnichannel. So you have to explain this one to me.
Yeah, it was just one that I saw. It was pretty much on its own, really. It's always been one of those considerations ever since I got started that if you've got data in your system that is sensitive, there's no real way of classifying it as sensitive. You can use field level security, which we've had for a long time, which can sort of hide it from people. But it doesn't really say that it's sensitive. It's just data you don't have access to. This is going to be interesting in that not only does it audit the changes to it, but it also audits access to it. So it's almost as if you can go into a CRM record if you've got access to it, and there's no record that you've actually been in there. But if it's what I think it's going to be, it's then going to mean that there is a log of people actually viewing that record of accessing that data. So it's just sometimes people do store sensitive data in CRM, and it's just going to be interesting to see what they do with it. To how it's going to...
I can see that being a real key thing across all our data, because we're seeing with Copilot that it's obviously going out. Copilot goes out into all these different data sources, especially when it becomes useful in the business. That it is looking at CRM, it is looking at your Teams chat, it is looking at your Outlook conversations and what you stored in OneDrive. And if there was, I don't know, if you're storing something sensitive, whether it's pricing, whether it's, I don't know, grievance against somebody, and that's all stored in CRM, and yet they search on their own name or something like that, it pops up, not knowing how, maybe first of all, have you got access to it, yes or no, is going to be important, but who has viewed that would be critical to know. Who knows that information, that data privacy becomes clean. Okay, so be interesting to see that. I think we're going to tag a lot more data as sensitive and lock it down as Copilot spreads its grubby paws throughout of all our data.
Yeah, there is another one as well, that if customers are using conversational intelligence, it's also recording your conversation. So obviously lots of sensitive information could be divulged in that conversation.
Would that be something like in a call centre? So it's actually
yes,
recording the call.
absolutely,
Okay,
yeah. So you've got things like sentiment analysis that will actually see if conversations are positive, negative, and it's adding that Copilot element to it. Okay. But you will actually have a whole recording of a conversation, obviously, of which there could be things that you don't want anybody accessing.
Indeed. Yeah. Okay. That sounds. AI actually sounds like it's getting there. Early steps. And it's only version 1 of Copilot, but yeah, just we talked about like at the beginning, Teams transcribing and that it's picking up so well. And once it starts to understand maybe the tone of those conversations, that's even more scary. Great. Okay. So while we're on Copilot, there's some links into emails as well within CRM.
Yeah, it was just one of those little extra ones that I saw that was added to the email element of when you're composing that email. Now,
Composing an email in CRM.
Inside CRM, yes. No, I mean, I've had a go into a Copilot within Outlook, and I think the one that I'd got was I think it was called coaching.
Yeah.
And it told me that I need to be more friendly, I need to specify more things like that. There wasn't really anything that wrote it, but when you're actually writing this, from what I can see from the options available, you could say that you want it shorter, normal length, longer. I don't know why, if you're doing a business email, you want to make it longer. You want to make it short to make it more concise. Yeah. But it can also alter the tone. So there's that idea of having it friendly or more formal. Yeah. And it will add that sort of tone for it. I've yet to see how it's going to work in action, because it's just been a preview feature. But yeah, it's just that ability to add that, just that thing to review and maybe modify based on what you want to do.
It's kind of similar to the email attachment thing, though, isn't it? In that it's taking away that excuse to work in Outlook for people again. Yeah. Because people would say, oh, well, I can get Copilot to write emails for me in Outlook. But then they won't have that excuse if it works in CRM as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Copilot just continues to be everywhere. So Power Automate, so the reporting, the Power Automate is workflow, and now you're getting that into Power BI, which is the reporting or the visualization tool for reporting.
Yeah. So as with, all Microsoft documentation, it's a little bit vague about how it's actually going to work. But so it's long since been not an issue, but we've had the odd requirement here or there where people have got data in Power BI and they want to be able to do certain actions with this data. They want to be able to update, certain things throughout based on what this data is telling them. So you can now embed a button in Power Automate that calls a flow. And to that flow, you can send it, certain filters that you've had on this data from Power BI, and certain things that Power BI has reported from this data. So certain analysis is done. And then you can get Power Automate to do actions based on that analysis. So again, really want to get our hands on it to see what it's actually going to do, in terms of, how far we can take it, what it will do with that analysis that Power BI is doing. So some of the preview examples it gives is like creating an Excel spreadsheet, which is, it's nice, but it's a bit boring, But if you can get it to actually, for example, do analysis on the relationship with your customers and then go and update your CRM data with that relationship, if you can get it to do things like that, then that's really powerful technology that we can take advantage of.
Okay. I watched a few of the short videos Microsoft released when they announced this, 5 to 8 minutes long, and it did look pretty cool the way that with Copilot and AI was now saying, right, create me a campaign based on the audience that we might have for a particular, I'll use food as an example, that's looking for a plant-based recipes or plant-based products, and it would go through and use all its intelligence to try and generate you a list that then would create the email campaign that was going out and use the imagery that we've probably used in others and start to look at what we've already done and look and find leads and opportunities that were there that had been successful. So we'll base what we're going to do now based on that. I thought it was pretty nice. I know their demos, having watched them for decades, they look phenomenal, and then you use it in real life and your data's probably not quite as good, and it's primed obviously to look good, but I mean they will get there. And so this CRM, there's so much stuff that we store in ours that I wish we could drag out quicker or plan that journey for our customers. I think it's a really exciting area that CRM continues to take all this new technology, and hopefully we'll all benefit of doing stuff quicker, more cost efficient, and we can pass that on to the customers as well, and they can start to use it. Okay. I mean, the one thing we always caveat this stuff with, as you said, it's only just starting to appear in sandboxes and nothing ever arrives all on one day. It drips in, bits are here, so we might not get some of this for months. But when's it due? When are the first features? Is it April time these are coming out roughly?
So we've got some of the features are marked for public preview as early as February, so potentially in the next couple of days, we're going to be getting them. So public preview means obviously we can turn them on in sandboxes, we can see what they do, we can have play with them, we can make sure they don't break things. And then we've got general releases as soon as March.
So the spring release normally lands around between sometime March and April time.
Yeah, so generally we normally get the wave release end of January, early February, and then from that point onwards,
it's dripping out.
They start to drip out, for the next 6 months.
So we'll see some of these hopefully soon, and we'll see a few more as the summer carries on before we get through, and then we'll update, no doubts, when we do more podcasts around when it's arrived and we've been able to give it more of a test and an informed decision whether it's worthwhile having to play with or not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Kelly, John, thank you as always for bringing me up to speed. I'm sure all the listeners and the viewers are around this on what's happening with CRM. I know Jason's on holiday at the moment, hence I've sat in, so probably not been as informed as Jason would have been on these things. But it's been great to learn a lot around what's happening with the Wave 1 release for 2024 for CRM. I look forward to seeing it all come to fruition. And that's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining us. Hope it's been of use, and you'll join us again soon on another episode of Techman Talks Dynamics.